Do you know anyone who tries to become more disciplined, but keeps slipping back into old habits? Someone who sets big goals, wakes up early for a few days, follows a strict routine, and then falls apart as soon as stress or pressure hits. Maybe they try studying harder, working longer hours, or pushing themselves with motivational quotes. But nothing sticks for more than a week. You've probably seen people who say they want to transform their life. They start a new routine with a burst of excitement. They plan their mornings, cut out distractions, organize everything, and tell themselves this time will be different. But a few days later, the weight of daily responsibilities pulls them back. Work, family, exhaustion, and they slip right back into comfort. This happens everywhere, and maybe it has happened to you too. But what if I told you there's a system in China that produces some of the most disciplined people in the world? A system shaped by centuries of philosophy, military precision, cultural values, and training methods that push humans beyond what most people think is possible. A system so intense that outsiders sometimes call it extreme. Yet it works. And if you understand its core principles, you can apply them to your own life in a simple, practical way. Before I walk you through how this system works and how you can use it to build the kind of discipline most people only dream about, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share in the comments which area of your life you want strengthened. I read all of your feedback, and many of my videos come directly from your requests. Now, let's get into the video. Chapter 1. The day his life broke open. There are moments in life when everything collapses at once, not with explosions or drama. Sometimes it happens quietly. A single moment that feels small to the world, but shatters a person from the inside. This is the story of a man named Liang Chun. Liang was 38 years old, worked at a logistics company in Shenzhen, and lived the kind of life millions of people live in modern China. Wake up at 6, catch the metro, work until it got dark, rush home, eat whatever was left from a canteen box, scroll on his phone until his eyes hurt, fall asleep, repeat. He wasn't irresponsible. He wasn't lazy. He was simply tired of being tired. He had a wife, Rue, and a 10-year-old daughter named Lin Lin who adored him. At least she used to. In recent months, she barely spoke to him without rolling her eyes. His father used to say something that Liang never took seriously. A man dies the day he stops trying to improve. Liang thought improvement was a luxury for people with time and money, not for someone who lived paycheck to paycheck in a one-bedroom apartment. But he was wrong, and he would learn that truth the hard way. It happened on a Tuesday, a completely normal Tuesday, the kind of day that should have been forgotten that same night. But that was the day Liang's life broke open. He had woken up late, slept through his alarms, head pounding from staying up past midnight watching videos he didn't even remember. His uniform shirt was wrinkled, he missed breakfast, and he nearly pushed his daughter out of the way trying to put his shoes on. "Baba, can you braid my hair today?" she asked with that innocent hope only children still have. "I'm late," he snapped. "Ask your mother." Her face fell so fast he felt it in his stomach, but he had already turned away. By 10 a.m., the office was a battlefield. The company had new rules, new targets, new penalties. Everyone was stressed. Liang tried to keep up, but his focus was gone. His mind felt like a noisy market street, crowded, chaotic, overwhelming. When the department manager called him into the meeting room, Liang already knew something was wrong. "Liang," the manager said, not even looking up from his folder, "your numbers have been dropping for 3 months. Your team says you're distracted. Your performance review is coming up and this can't continue." "I know," Liang whispered. He wanted to explain, to say he was exhausted, to say he hadn't felt like himself in years, to say that every day felt heavier than the last. But he didn't. In China, you don't complain about pressure. Pressure is normal. Pressure is expected. Pressure is life. The manager sighed. "Fix it, or we'll find someone who can." Liang nodded. He felt a strange mixture of shame and numbness. It should have scared him, but he was too drained to feel fear. On the metro ride home that night, the car was full, as always. People pressed against each other in silence, heads bowed, eyes glued to screens. The train rocked, stopped, moved again. Liang stared at his own reflection in the window. He didn't like what he saw. His face was rounder than he remembered. His eyes looked tired, almost hollow. His posture slumped like he was trying to disappear. His hair had lost its shine. He looked like a man who had been shrinking inside himself for years. The doors opened. People pushed in and out. A woman bumped into him, but he barely reacted. He felt like a ghost riding through a city of millions. At home, Rue was washing dishes when he entered. She didn't turn around. "You're late again," she said. "There was a meeting." There are always meetings. Silence stretched between them. He dropped his bag on the couch. "How was school?" he asked his daughter. She didn't answer. She was sitting on the floor drawing, her headphones in. "Lin." She pulled one earbud out. "It's fine." Then she put it back in. He wanted to sit beside her, ask what she was drawing, be a father, be present. But instead he went to the bedroom and lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Everything inside him felt heavy. Later that night, something small happened. Something stupid. Something that shouldn't have meant anything. While scrolling through his phone, Liang accidentally opened the gallery. A video popped up. A video from 4 years ago. He was at the park with Lin, who was only 6 at the time. She was laughing, running, calling him to chase her. And he chased her, full speed. Strong legs, bright eyes, smiling like he actually had energy. "Baba, you can't catch me," she shouted. But he did catch her. He picked her up, spinning her around as she squealed with joy. He remembered that day clearly. He remembered how light he felt, how alive. Watching the video, he felt his chest tighten. He didn't look like that anymore. He didn't feel like that anymore. He paused the video. His younger self stared back at him, strong, awake, disciplined. What happened to that man? Where did he go? And why couldn't Liang bring him back? The breaking point came the next morning. Lin had a school presentation. She had told him about it for a week. "Baba, please come. Please. I want you to be there." He promised he would, but he overslept. Again, he arrived at the school auditorium just as everyone was leaving. Parents walking out with flowers, balloons, taking photos with their kids. And there, near the exit, stood Lin, alone, holding a small homemade poster she had made for her presentation. Her classmates were with their parents. She was by herself. Her eyes were full of disappointment she tried to hide. That was the worst part. She didn't cry. She didn't get angry. She just lowered her head like she expected it, like she had learned not to count on him. Lin, he whispered, "I'm so sorry." She shrugged. "It's okay." But it wasn't okay, and he knew it. In that moment, something inside him cracked. Not loudly, quietly, like the sound of a rope snapping after being pulled for too many years. His daughter took his hand, but didn't squeeze it. Her hand felt cold. On the walk home, she didn't say a single word, and he realized what scared him the most. His daughter wasn't drifting away. She had already drifted. That night, Rue sat beside him on the bed. "Liang," she said softly, "you're disappearing." He swallowed hard. "I know. You don't talk. You don't play with Lin. You don't sleep well. You don't focus at work. You've changed." Her voice trembled. "I don't want to lose you while you're still here." Those words hit him harder than the manager's warning, harder than missing the presentation, harder than the memory of who he used to be. He covered his face with his hands. "What's wrong with me?" he asked, voice shaking. "You're exhausted," she said. "Your mind is drowning." "Then how do I fix it?" Rue hesitated, then said something he never expected. "I made an appointment for you, with someone who might help." "A doctor?" "No, not exactly." "Who then?" "A man named Master Chiu." Liang looked confused. "What does he do?" She met his eyes. "He teaches discipline." Liang wanted to laugh. Discipline? He couldn't even wake up on time. He couldn't keep promises to himself. He couldn't stay focused for 5 minutes. "What kind of discipline?" he asked. "The old kind," she said. "The kind your grandparents grew up with. The kind China used to be known for before everything became fast and stressful." He didn't fully understand, but he nodded anyway, because, for the first time in years, Liang realized something important. He couldn't keep living like this. He couldn't keep losing himself. He couldn't keep losing the people he loved. Something had to change. And that quiet Tuesday, the same day everything went wrong, was the day his life finally cracked open. Not to break him, but to let something new enter. What Liang didn't know was that Master Chiu would introduce him to a system so unforgiving, so brutally simple, and so ancient that it would rebuild him from the inside out. A system built on silence, control, repetition, and a kind of mental toughness few people today ever reach. But that comes later. For now, Liang just sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the appointment card. Master Chiu, Disciplinary Arts of the Old Chinese Way. Saturday, 9 a.m. And that was the moment, silent, fragile, almost invisible, when Liang Chen's life truly began again. Chapter 2. The Teacher Who Didn't Speak for 10 Minutes. Saturday arrived with a thin layer of morning fog drifting through the city. Liang woke earlier than usual, not because he was rested, but because he was nervous. There was something unsettling about meeting a man called Master Chiu, someone who supposedly taught discipline the old way, whatever that meant. Rui stood at the kitchen counter pouring tea. "You should eat something before you go," she said. "I'll eat later," Liang replied. She looked at him, really looked at him, and he could tell she was worried, but hopeful. That made him even more anxious. He didn't want to disappoint her again. Before leaving, he peeked into his daughter's room. Lin was still asleep, curled under her blanket, her hair spread across the pillow. He whispered, "I'll do better." She didn't hear him, but the promise was real. He stepped outside and took the metro to the other side of the city, to a quieter district he had never visited before. Old alleyways, worn gray bricks, hanging laundry fluttering from balconies. It felt like stepping 40 years back in time. The address led him to a small courtyard behind a wooden gate. It looked nothing like a modern training center. No banners, no motivational quotes, no music, not even a signboard. Just a plain gate with a small red seal painted on it. Liang hesitated, then knocked. The gate creaked open on its own. Inside was a rectangular courtyard with a single tree at the center. Bamboo rustled along the walls. Everything was quiet, almost too quiet. Liang felt like he had entered a different world, separate from the noise and speed of Shenzhen. On the far side, an old man sat cross-legged on a wooden platform. He was maybe in his late 60s, incredibly thin, straight-backed, with a calm expression that felt more powerful than any expression of anger could ever be. His robe was simple, his hair tied in a small knot behind his head. This must be Master Chiu. Liang stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Master Chiu, I'm." The old man lifted one finger, not to greet him, but to tell him to stop speaking. Liang froze. Master Chiu closed his eyes again, and then nothing. He just sat there, still, silent. 1 minute passed, then 2, then 5. Liang swallowed, unsure if he was supposed to say something, or sit down, or leave. He stood there awkwardly in the middle of the courtyard, hands hanging at his sides. He cleared his throat. Master Chiu didn't react. 8 minutes. Then 8 minutes and 30 seconds. Liang checked his watch. 9 minutes. He felt irritation rise in his chest. Why wasn't this man saying anything? Why wasn't he even acknowledging him? Was this some kind of joke? He had crossed the city, taken time off, rearranged his schedule. By the 10th minute, Liang felt something break inside him. Not anger, not exactly, but a kind of discomfort he couldn't describe. Silence like this wasn't normal. Not in his life, not in the city, not in his head. His mind suddenly became loud, too loud. He thought about work. He thought about bills. He thought about missing Lin's presentation. He thought about being scolded by his boss. He thought about being a disappointment to himself. All of this rushed through him at once, agitated and messy. And Master Chiu still sat silently. This was unbearable. Finally, after 10 minutes and 14 seconds, the old man opened his eyes and looked at Liang for the first time. Sit. Liang sat. The master spoke again. What did you learn? Liang stared at him. I don't know. You didn't say anything. Master Chiu tapped his chest lightly with 2 fingers. And yet your mind screamed. Liang blinked. The old man continued, your anger, your fear, your panic, your shame, none of it came from me. I gave you 10 minutes of silence. You filled it with suffering. Liang looked down. The words stung because they were true. Master Chiu leaned forward slightly. Discipline begins with understanding that your greatest enemy is not the world around you, but the storm inside you. The courtyard felt colder suddenly. Tell me, the master said. Why are you here? Liang hesitated. He didn't know how to explain everything. The crushing pressure at work, the exhaustion, the guilt toward his daughter, the feeling that he was fading away. He tried anyway. I'm losing myself, he said quietly. I can't focus. I can't control anything. I'm always tired. I want to be better, but I don't know where to start. Master Chiu nodded. You want to be disciplined? Yes. You want to be strong? Yes. You want peace? Liang swallowed hard. Yes. Master Chiu held his gaze. Then you must learn the first rule of the old Chinese system. The rule that every warrior, scholar, and farmer once lived by. The rule your ancestors understood, but your generation has forgotten. Liang felt his heartbeat slow. Master Chiu stood up, remarkably steady for his age. He walked to the center of the courtyard and placed 1 stone on the ground. Rule 1, he said. Control your mind before you control your actions. He stepped back. This stone represents your thoughts. They anchor you or crush you. Most people try to change their habits, their diets, their routines, but their mind is chaos. A chaotic mind cannot build order. He pointed at Liang. You rush through your days. You drown in noise. You run from silence because silence forces you to face yourself. Liang felt exposed. Your mind, Master Chiu continued, is filled with noise you did not create. Notifications, deadlines, opinions, pressure. You carry the world's noise inside your skull. How can you expect discipline when your mind is never still? Liang opened his mouth to respond, but the master interrupted. Stand up. Liang stood. Follow me. They walked to the back of the courtyard, where there was a narrow meditation room with no decorations. Just a wooden bench and a small window looking into the bamboo. Sit here, the master said. Liang sat. For the next 10 minutes, you will not move. You will not scratch. You will not adjust your posture. You will not follow your thoughts. You will watch them. Let them rise. Let them fall. Do not fight them. Do not feed them. Watch. Liang nodded. And one more thing, Master Chiu added. Yes. You will breathe. Liang blinked. Just breathe. No. Breathe properly. The master demonstrated. Inhaling slowly through his nose. Exhaling gently through his mouth. Do this. 10 minutes. He closed the door. The room felt tight, like the walls were pressing in. Liang inhaled. Exhaled. At first it was easy. He thought this isn't so bad. By minute 2 his legs felt stiff. By minute 3 he became aware of every itch on his body. His shoulders complained. His back tensed. By minute 4 his mind began racing. Work, money, his daughter, his mistakes, his failures. By minute 6 he wanted to scream. His instincts begged him to reach for his phone, for any distraction, for anything to escape his own thoughts. By minute 8 he felt like he had lived an entire day sitting there. By minute 9 he was sweating, not from heat, but from the raw discomfort of stillness. And then something shifted, just for a second. The thoughts still came, but they didn't grab him. They passed like clouds instead of storms. He felt something he hadn't felt in months. Space. A gap between thought and reaction. A moment of actual quiet inside his mind. It only lasted a breath. Then it was gone. But it had happened. When Master Chiu opened the door, he looked at Liang's face and seemed to understand everything, without asking a single question. You lasted 10 minutes, the old man said. Good. Liang shook his head. I wanted to quit. But you didn't. The master nodded. That is your first victory. Liang felt something stir in his chest. A small spark. Not confidence. Not joy. Something else. Possibility. They walked back into the courtyard. Master Chiu picked up a broom and handed it to him. Your second task for today. Liang blinked. You want me to sweep? Your mind is full, the master said. Your body must empty it. So Liang swept. The courtyard wasn't even dirty, but he swept anyway. Small strokes. Measured movements. Back and forth. No rushing. No distractions. Something strange happened. The more he swept, the more his breathing settled. The more his shoulders loosened. The more present he felt. It made no logical sense. But it worked. Master Chiu watched quietly. Discipline is built through simple tasks done with full presence. This is why ancient Chinese warriors trained their minds before their bodies. They continued until the courtyard stones gleamed. Finally, the master spoke again. You came here seeking strength, he said. But strength is a consequence. Discipline is the cause. He placed a hand on Liang's shoulder. Return tomorrow. Liang nodded. As he left the courtyard, he noticed something. The fog had lifted. Not just outside. Inside him too. Chapter 3. The first rule in practice. The painful beginning. The next morning began with a heaviness in Liang's chest. Not the usual heaviness of exhaustion or dread, but something different. A weight that felt like responsibility. A weight that didn't let him hide behind excuses. He sat on the edge of the bed, rubbing his eyes. Rui was tying her hair in the mirror. Are you going back today? She asked. He nodded. Good, she said. Your face looks clearer. He wanted to believe that. He wasn't sure if she meant it or if she was trying to encourage him, but for the first time in months, he felt a hint of energy in his bones. Something quiet but steady. Before leaving, he paused again at his daughter's bedroom door. Lin was awake this time. You're up early, she said, still groggy. I'm working on something, he said. She tilted her head. A project. He smiled softly. Something like that. She nodded as if she understood more than he expected. He felt a pull in his chest, a reminder of why he started this in the first place. The walk to the courtyard felt different today. Yesterday, he had walked like a man searching for answers. Today he walked like a man carrying a fragile new beginning. The city hummed around him, rushing buses, motorcycles, vendors calling out for morning customers. Yet something in him stayed quiet, still echoing the silence Master Chiu had forced him into. When he entered the courtyard, the master was already sweeping the ground with slow, precise motions. He stopped when he saw Liang. You returned, the master said, as if checking a box on a list. Yes, that is good. Most people failed the second day. Liang frowned. Why the second day? Because the first day is fueled by hope, Master Chiu replied. The second day is fueled by discipline. Most people do not yet possess it. He motioned for Liang to sit by the bamboo wall. We continue. The 10-minute silence again. 10 minutes. Same position. Same quiet room. Only today, it was harder. Yesterday, his mind had fought him. Today, it attacked him. His back ached earlier. His legs cramped sooner. His thoughts felt louder. By the third minute, he felt the urge to stand up. By the fourth, his mind screamed for escape. By the sixth, he wanted to quit. He clenched his jaw, not because he wanted to be strong, but because quitting now would mean yesterday was just a fluke. He imagined Lin's face. He imagined Rui's tired eyes. He imagined his own reflection, bloated, dull, defeated. He stayed. When the 10 minutes ended, he felt drained, shaky, and strangely proud. Master Chiu didn't praise him. He didn't need to. His silence was enough. Today, the master said, you begin applying the first rule. Liang nodded, trying to steady his breathing. Control the mind before the body. Incorrect, Master Chiu said. Control your reaction to the mind. Liang frowned. What's the difference? The old master pointed at the bamboo trees swaying in the wind. You cannot stop the wind, but you can choose whether to stand firm or fall. The mind is wind. You are the bamboo. The metaphor sank deep. Liang wasn't expected to stop his thoughts, just not be carried away by them. Master Chiu continued, "To practice this, you will do 3 things today." Liang prepared himself mentally for some ancient martial technique. The master held up one finger. "First task, you will walk." Liang blinked. "Walk." "Yes, slowly, with awareness. That's all." "That is everything," the master said. He held up a second finger. "Second task, you will clean your home without distractions." Liang hesitated. "Why cleaning?" "To shape the world outside you, so the world inside you can settle." Master Chiu lifted a final finger. "Third task, tonight you will eat in silence. No phone, no TV, no rushing." Liang felt embarrassed. These tasks felt childish. Too simple, too small. Master Chiu watched his expression and nodded with disappointment. "There it is," he said. "The arrogance that destroys modern men." Liang stiffened. "You believe difficulty equals importance," the master said. "You think only huge tasks create change. This is why you fail. Small tasks reveal weakness. Small tasks expose the undisciplined mind. That is why we start small." Liang lowered his eyes. He couldn't argue. The truth stung because it was accurate. "Go," the master said. "Do the tasks. Return tomorrow." The walk. Liang left the courtyard and began walking down the narrow stone street, just as Master Chiu instructed. Slow, steady, no rushing. The master had given him only one rule. Pay attention to his feet, to his breath, to the ground, to the sound of leaves rustling, to the people passing by. It seemed simple, but it wasn't. His mind kept drifting to work, then to old mistakes, then to the fear of failing this system. Every time he got lost in thought, he forced himself back to the present moment. He never realized how much he lived inside his head until he tried to step out of it. A woman on a bicycle passed him. A shopkeeper swept his front door. Steam rose from a noodle stand. For the first time in a long time, Liang actually noticed the cleaning. When he returned home, Rue gave him a confused look. "You're home early." "Master Chiu gave me tasks," he said. "What kind of tasks?" He took a breath. "Cleaning." Rue raised an eyebrow. "That's new." Liang spent the next 2 hours cleaning the house with a focus he had never used before. He wiped windows, swept under furniture, organized the shoes near the door, folded clothes with care. Not rushed, not half-hearted, not angry or annoyed, just present. Rue walked by him at one point, carrying laundry. She paused, watching him. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah," he said. "I'm doing something." She didn't say anything else, but something in her shoulders softened. He kept going, and with each movement, each stroke of the cloth, each sweep of the broom, his mind felt lighter. He didn't expect that. The silent dinner. Dinner that night was tofu soup and vegetables. Simple, warm. Lin sat beside him, swinging her legs. "Daddy, why are you eating so slow?" "Master Chiu said I have to." She giggled. "Is he like a kung fu master?" Liang smiled. "Something like that." He focused on chewing, on swallowing, on tasting the food instead of inhaling it like usual. He didn't touch his phone. He didn't rush. He didn't check messages. And strangely, the food tasted better. He felt present with his daughter, present with himself. When dinner ended, Lin hugged him tightly around the waist. "You're different, Daddy." The words almost made him tear up. The breaking point. Later that night, when everyone was asleep, Liang sat alone in the living room. The silence felt thicker now, less threatening and more comforting. But then, like a punch, a thought hit him. This is temporary. You're going to fail again. His stomach tightened. It was the same voice that had always been there. The voice that had ruined every attempt to improve. The voice that laughed when he tried to start over. He clenched his fists. The voice grew stronger. You will quit. You always quit. Give it a few days. He felt the familiar pull toward hopelessness. But right before he fell into it, he remembered Master Chiu's words. You cannot stop the wind, but you can stand firm. Liang breathed in slowly, held it, released it, and the voice softened. Didn't vanish, didn't disappear, but softened. He realized something then. Discipline wasn't about becoming fearless or motivated. It was about refusing to obey the voice that wanted him weak. And for the first time, he didn't obey it. He stayed sitting, breathing, present. The storm inside him didn't win. A call he didn't expect. Just before going to bed, his phone buzzed. It was an unexpected message from his manager. We need to talk tomorrow morning. Normally, this would have sent him spiraling into panic. A full night of anxiety. No sleep. Sweaty palms. Racing heart. But after the day he had, after 10 minutes of silence, after the walk, after the cleaning, after holding his mind steady in the storm, he didn't panic. He felt tense, yes, but not overwhelmed. He breathed quietly, turned off the phone, and went to bed, not running from stress, not drowning in it, facing it. As he closed his eyes, only one thought remained. Tomorrow, he would return to Master Chiu. Because for the first time, the path didn't feel impossible. It simply felt painful. And pain meant progress. Chapter 4. The day discipline stopped being theoretical. There's a moment in every transformation when the ideas you've been reading about, the systems you've been studying, and the words you've been repeating finally collide with the real world. For weeks, our guy had been learning about the Chinese discipline system. He had filled notebooks with concepts like CHIKU, eating bitterness, Jianqi, persistence, Kugong, hard labor, and Ziji, self-restraint. He felt proud of his progress, motivated, clear-headed, but he hadn't been tested yet. He was still in the safe zone, where the world lets you imagine how disciplined you think you are. This is the phase where you feel good, because you're reading about discipline instead of living it. You wake up early a few days in a row and think you've changed. You do a cold shower once and tell yourself you've become unbreakable. You stick to your diet during the easy days and assume you'll stay strong forever. Everyone feels disciplined when life is calm. The real question is, who are you when life hits back? And one morning, life hit him harder than he expected. The test arrives without warning. It was a Wednesday, a regular day, a boring day, the kind of day where nothing dramatic is supposed to happen. He woke up at 5 a.m., stretched, boiled water for tea, and sat down with his notebook like he always did now. He wrote his 3 rules, just like the system instructed. Do the hard thing first. Finish what you start. Never skip twice. He felt calm, focused, steady. But around 8 a.m., everything collapsed. His manager called. Someone quit overnight. Deadlines were moved earlier. New tasks were assigned. Everything he planned for the day fell apart. It wasn't just stress. It was chaos. He felt that familiar swelling behind his eyes, the old anxiety he used to run from, the tightness in the chest, the voice that always whispered, "You can't handle this. Just give up." His breathing changed. His heartbeat jumped. His stomach clenched. This was the first real test. Not a motivational test. Not a theoretical one. A real-life punch. And for a moment he froze, feeling the old version of himself pulling him backward. His first instinct was still the old habit. Even though he had studied discipline for weeks, his instinct was still the same. Skip the workout today. Order junk food. You deserve a break. You can restart tomorrow. No one will notice if you quit for one day. This is the part people don't talk about. You can read all the books, follow all the systems, and memorize all the rules. But when the real test comes, your mind always tries to drag you back to your old self. Discipline is not natural. Comfort is. But this moment mattered. This was the day where discipline became real. He remembered one of the deepest Chinese sayings he had underlined weeks earlier. If your discipline only works on easy days, it's not discipline. It's convenience. That sentence hit him in the chest. He could feel the old version of himself fighting for survival. But for the first time, he didn't collapse. He didn't shut down. He didn't hide. Instead, he took a step that would define everything. He applied the first rule when it actually hurt. Rule 1. Do the hard thing first. He had repeated that rule every day, but repeating a rule doesn't count until you do it while suffering. His hard thing that morning was the workout. A brutal 20-minute bodyweight routine. No music. No breaks. The one part of the day he always tried to avoid. His brain screamed at him to skip it. Everything felt heavy. His chest, his arms, his mind. But for the first time in his life, he decided to act before thinking. He didn't wait to feel ready. He didn't negotiate with himself. He went straight to the floor and started. Push-ups, squats, plank holds, burpees. Within minutes, his lungs burned. Sweat dripped. His arms shook. He could feel the stress from work mixing with the physical pain in his body. But instead of breaking him, something started to shift inside him. Pain was no longer a punishment. It was a cleansing, a sharpening, a form of control. This was the first time the system became real. He was no longer studying discipline. He was building it. When he finished the workout, he didn't feel proud. He felt something deeper. He felt stable. Finishing what he started was the real battle. Then came Rule 2. Finish what you start. He opened his laptop. Dozens of tasks. Urgent messages. Problems that normally would have pushed him into panic mode. But he didn't panic. He created a list. He started with the most stressful problem, the one he wanted to run away from. He focused on it for 1 hour with no distractions. He didn't move until he solved it. Then the next task. Then the next. Slow, steady, methodical. At some point he noticed something shocking. He wasn't trapped in stress anymore. He was controlling it. This was the first day in his life where he understood a deep Chinese truth. Action creates calm. Avoidance creates chaos. He had spent years avoiding the hard tasks because he thought avoidance reduced stress. In reality, it multiplies stress. But facing the hardest task first, that was discipline. That was emotional control. That was power. By late afternoon, something unbelievable happened. He had finished everything. All the tasks. All the problems. All the work that was supposed to ruin his day. He had finished what he started. Not perfectly. Not quickly. Not impressively. But completely. The third rule kicked in when he wanted to collapse. He was exhausted. His body was tired. His mind felt like a stretched rubber band. But there was still Rule 3. Never skip twice. He still needed to study that evening. He still had a 1-hour reading session scheduled. The system required it. And every part of him wanted to skip it. This was the point where most people break. Not during the first challenge. Not during the first intense workout or stressful day. They break at the end of the day when they say, I already did a lot. Missing one thing won't hurt. But he remembered the rule. Skipping once is human. Skipping twice creates a pattern. So he sat down, opened his notebook, and began to read. Slowly. Eyes heavy. Head foggy. But still moving. This was the moment where discipline stopped being something he admired and became something he lived. When he finished reading, he closed the notebook gently, as if sealing a pact with himself. He knew something had shifted forever. The system had become a habit. He went to bed that night exhausted, but surprisingly calm. And lying there in the dark, he replayed the entire day. The stress attack, the panic, the temptation to quit, the brutal workout, the completed tasks, the reading session he didn't want to do. None of these things were dramatic. None of them were impressive. None of them would make a motivational video. But together, they represented the day where discipline became his default instead of his dream. People always believe transformation happens during big moments. But transformation actually happens on boring Wednesday mornings when everything goes wrong and you still follow your rules. And that's when he understood something that hit so deep he couldn't shake it off. Discipline is not created by motivation. It is created by resistance. The stress didn't ruin his progress. The stress activated it. The chaos didn't push him off track. The chaos revealed the track. For the first time in his life, he wasn't trying to avoid difficulty. He was using it. He realized that the Chinese discipline system wasn't designed to make life easier. It was designed to make him stronger. And that night, he fell asleep knowing something he had never believed before. He was no longer the type of man who collapses under pressure. He was the type of man shaped by pressure. And tomorrow, he would wake up even stronger. If this video opens something inside you even a little, I want you to do one thing before you leave. Go to the comments and write down the smallest action you're going to take in the next 24 hours. Not your big vision, not your full discipline plan, just the first tiny move. The one that feels almost too simple to matter. Because the moment you write it, it stops being a thought floating in your head and becomes a decision you've put into the world. And once it's public, it carries weight. It becomes a promise. It becomes part of the path you're choosing. I'll do my best to read every comment. And 2 weeks from now, I'm coming back to see who actually followed through, who took their cold shower, who stood up earlier than usual, who put the phone down, who made that first uncomfortable step toward becoming a stronger version of themselves. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need motion. One small, honest step is enough to change the direction of your entire life. If you stayed with me until the end, thank you. It tells me you're not just curious. You're committed. See you in the next video. And remember, stay aware, hold your ground, and keep walking the path.